What's going on, YouTube? Time for another recap. Let's talk about it. This morning, we had some beautiful futures gap open. I gave a little explanation overnight for what we were doing. Yesterday, 5 p.m. Central at that open, had a little bit of a sliver gap. We went through some of the trade pairs, said we were going to come down short, fill that gap, had some really good explanations. And then later on in the morning, we had some beautiful anchor backtest calls in our Discord. So we were hitting some great trades here, shorting the jobs, coming back down to anchors that did not tag. So we had a really good day today. A lot of bangers and great P&Ls from the chat, from the group. Let's get into it. So if you remember the last video, I did talk about CPI having an opportunity to scream back up to the 1 minute gaps. If you missed that video, check the description. I will link it below. We talked about the 1 minute open algorithm gaps on QQQ and SPY, and both of them were sitting way up here, okay? And one was a little lower on SPY, but the 1 minute gaps were open, two of them at the same spot. We went over it in the last video. Check it out. And I said the CPI, if I was an algorithm, I would rush right back up there and fill those 1 minute gaps next day, because we don't leave pair gaps on algos like that very often at all. So that's exactly what we got for when we pushed on the CPI. CPI continued, right? So let's take one big piece of the pie here. On the 15 minute, we're kind of looking at a no GP tag. On the 5 minute, if you were to fib out CPI like we always do, high low for data or algos, there was no golden pocket tag. Everybody knows how kind of warranted I am on golden pocket tag. So this is the 5 minute high low. You can see the fibs for it. Price action never came back down for that golden pocket. So we stayed outside of that CPI range. We needed to hit the 1618, right? Because we're outside of the range to come back down to the golden pocket. So because the CPI candle was created here in pre-market with no support tags of the GP, I don't care if it was a resistance, even if it fell all the way back down like this, there's just no tags. There's no price action in the middle of the CPI candle, the 50%. Algorithms do not like that. So we opened up with a nice pre-market push way up here. We had the jobs data, and then we had the last couple of trade calls that I made for the short. And as I told my crew today, I will want to see this back down at CPI, you know, golden pocket, right, at some point. But today, we just don't have the catalyst with jobs to push us through and down, most likely past the moving averages, worst case scenario on the daily. So if we look right here on price action, I said it probably wasn't going to go past the moving average. That'd be about the lowest point. We put this for about the lowest point too for a Fibonacci, but you know, worst case scenario, we said it was moving averages. It's not going to get through Fibonacci daily, gap up daily, half candle retrace, 10 SMA and 50 SMA. We have so many things in support right here, as we covered in our premium Discord on live. We just weren't breaking through. And lo and behold, market close was at 10 SMA daily. That's this dash balloon right here. So if you're not used to that 10 SMA, this is the daily 10 SMA. It's just coded into our intraday chart. So this is a daily 10 SMA, and that's the 50. So I said it was going to close no lower than that. Close right on it. Great. So as we came into today, we had the jobs data pointed to the downside. And the last fun little trade I gave my crew today at the premium Discord was the long back at the opening range. So let's talk opening range Fibonacci. It's always a fun one. So what I'm on is the 15-minute chart. The 15-minute has its first candle. This is 15 minutes from 8:30 a.m. Central to 8:45 Central. That is my 15 minutes for me in my time zone. Notice this candle. Notice we just talked also about CPI candle yesterday having no golden pocket tag and how algos like to magnet back and tag those. Well, if we take our Fibonacci and we do a high-low at that 15, we pointed to the downside. Notice the 1618. And for our rules here at Boiler Room Trading in the Elites Trading section, we hold the 1618 and generally trace back to the 100, and we have a really good chance to come to the golden pocket. Why? Because nothing ever hit the golden pocket. So that's a very important thing. So I drew this green box. That's what I usually do for our crew right here. I'll draw a green box, and I said the best long is going to be the break up and over 516.83, and it's going to go to the golden pocket. So we usually hop off stream. I did hop off stream a little early today. I had some meetings, 9:30, but I told everybody to watch that as we get off at about 10, usually 10:30, so whatever's happening. If the market's still good, we stay. If not, we tend to trade the opening hour, hour and a half, and a lot of pre. So because this 15-minute had a wide open golden pocket, that had a very good statistical chance to back test the golden pocket. And of course, that golden pocket is between 38.20, 61.8. So anytime we came back inside the fib range of the 15-minute opening candle, we had a chance to plow into that. So I told everybody long this right here, stay above anything pre-market high or low, sorry, in the blue right here and the 1618 as support, and anything over that 516.83 breakout, we were going to net right there to the golden pocket. So we called that one if she's down here holding that 100 EMA and that 15 and up. That's over 120 some points on that scale, baby. On NQ, that's why we're doing so good. And you see a lot of those giant multi-$1,000 PNLs on the top steps. Now, last but not least, I said the market, again, ain't gonna close lower than those moving averages as well. So let's jump back into the 5-minute here. I want to show you guys there's a couple little things here on the moving averages. So one thing to keep in mind is trend dominant VWAP. Okay, so we had algos pointing to the downside. We have a CPI that needs a 50 fib tag. So the center of CPI, 5-minute candle. We drew a magical little big golden dashed line down here. It says 50 fib not tagged. Well, it's overlap, but it says 50 fib not tagged CPI. So we will be coming down to 509, that's 68 or so for that CPI center. And this day, we'll delete this and some other stuff here, make it cleaner. And VWAP range is something I want you guys to take in consideration for trend. It's almost like an oscillation indicator. A lot of the times it just helps you with directional trends. So on the oscillation indicators here, let's take a peek quick at the RSI. Noticeably on the RSI, relative strength index, all of the line work we got is on the bottom channel of the RSI. We don't have much over the 50 waypoint, right, of that RSI at all. So we don't have a top trend of RSI. Usually that is accompanied by momentum to the upside. Same with the MACD. MACD is underneath the zero line. We have lots and lots of sell waves, and the RSI is just pinned to the downside, helping us with directional picks to the downside, right? And because we gapped over, and we talked about this on the daily chart as well, confirmation is huge for us. We gapped over some pretty big metrics here over on these no-fill fibs. In order to come back down to that daily gap made, we do need to keep the crush to that downside. Speaking about gaps, you'll notice one thing right here is we opened up in a gap up today, okay? This was our main driver for the short trade today because we had jobs data, right? And if you look right here at yesterday's highs, this is this orange dash line right here, right where the 15-minute opening drive was, where that 50 is. This right here is yesterday's highs, 517.84. Price action was up here in pre-market and open and dumped off. I shorted the open and held short, and we said we would short all the way into this zone right here. Anything into 519.37 and under this purple zone, that was all short resistance zone for my call. So I shorted the opening range all the way down and got some really beautiful candles to the downside here because of that gap up, okay? Jobs data at 7:30 pushed us up. We were over yesterday's highs, so we opened in a gap up, then closed it because we're over yesterday's highs, resulting in opening in a daily gap, right? Daily gap filled right away, so we call that a common gap. But the market did not deserve a gap up and run on jobs data. It just didn't. So notice here on SPY as well, yesterday's highs, we started way up here. My call was short because the psychological catalyst, especially being jobs data, just for jobless claims, that is not going to be a catalyst driver to continue a gap and go from CPI and just screamer. It's not the data. It's not FOMC. It's not CPI. It's not even a PPI. It's not a big Powell announcement, right? It's not quad witching. There's so many other things that take precedent over the weekly jobless claims. So when I seen the jobless claims at 7:30 a.m. Central starting to crawl back up, noticed it went into a gap up, and I said there is a very, very small chance that this holds gap up at all. 0% for me. So I shorted the entire open, slamming it into yesterday's highs and down. And then we called the 15-minute that we just went over, right? So the 15-minute opening range we just talked about, getting it up there into the golden pocket, then continuing. And then I said, those moving averages will be about the bottom here, okay? And when we closed there, that was it. So take into consideration trend oscillation where the RSI is in the bottom range, MACD, and of course VWAP, like we said, is in the bottom range. So if you're not familiar, VWAP's the purple dash line for me, +2 deviation in the orange, -2 deviation of the VWAP in the blue. Notice the price action stayed between, right, the VWAP and the lower, little peak back out, snap right back down, lower, right, consolidation, lower, right back to VWAP again, and lower. Okay, so when something's on trend like this, and especially when we have an easy psychological day where we come into the market and we're like, why are we in a gap up? Why are we this high? We just came off CPI that pushed us. Jobs data is not going to keep the fuel alive. It's just not. We have too many things back down here that we need to gap fill and get price action to, mainly the CPI candle it left wide open. This is very rare. I've only seen one in about 6 months in the CPI. Maybe even, I think it was 8 months, pretty longer than that. I think I have one in my notes that we ran away from the CPI for multiple days. Generally, within 1 to 3 days, we will fill the golden pocket of the CPI data. So that high-low will be coming back down to here. And that's part of your prediction for the rest of the trade day, or for the week, really. Friday's tomorrow. So if we happen to stay under that 50 SMA and 10, I'm hoping we just kind of trend low right here, right? and just kind of chill and then go into it. But the other case scenario is if the market dumps overnight, we are still going to use this Fibonacci range, the high-low of yesterday's pre-market. Let's make it a little bit more transparent so we can do some work here so we can easier on the eyeballs. All right. So this large, gray is even kind of hard to see, is it not? Is it just me? Let's make it green. Awesome. So this large green zone, I have two theories that we're going to come up here on the CPI. So we need to fill the golden pocket. Here's the golden pocket. In between these two sectional fibs, this is where the algorithms are speaking to each other. This is where price action needs to come. That little dip we had in CPI's open from pre-market to live, we did not hit it, so we are still clear in after hours. Notice that we hit it. That's after hours. Doesn't matter. This is live trading. This is after hours. I don't care about after hours. Algorithms don't care about after hours. We need a live tag. So the two scenarios that you're going to see here is either price action loops at the night here, end of the day, comes into the after hours, fibs come up for a little bit, and we start, I don't know, around the 50 or the 10, maybe up here, in between 5, 14, 15, and we will continue the drop, and we will target 5, 10, 50 from the top side. Other scenario is the bottom side where the futures dump out all night. They open in a gap down into tomorrow. So here's yesterday's lows and close, which we'll be planning the trade for tomorrow. Obviously, that's kind of yesterday's close lows. So it closed right here. We got our blue dash line and white. White's close, blue's lows. So that's a program coded for us to give us yesterday's close and yesterday's lows every day. We will stay under the golden pocket. We will end up down here in the bottom of the CPI, okay? The bottom green range, so lower than the golden pocket, and then under yesterday's lows. This is option B, and then we'll come up into the CPI. Because regardless, tomorrow, price action will be in the CPI box, somewhere in between CPI's golden pocket, and that's where I want to see it. That's the call. So regardless of whether we start up here at yesterday's close lows, we slowly crack down, and we come rushing into it, great, we got it. If not, we might actually open into it. That would be option C. That's worst case scenario. I don't even want to talk about that because if we open up right into like 511 of no tag, we're going to have a range of nothing sandwich, and it's not going to do a whole lot. We're going to wait for it to hit the 61.8 and the 38.20, and it's just going to be junk. No fun. But if we start up here by lows close, that would be best case scenario, come down into it. That's awesome. Option B is going to be a lot more rare. We're going to dump overnight, huge on the futures, and then we're going to rush up into it. So regardless, this green zone will be in play for tomorrow, and you'll check it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. So if any of this stuff sounds good to you guys, you want to trade with us live, you want to see me break all these algorithms, Fibonacci's, while doing live trading on live stream every single day, come and join us at Boiler Room Trading. Links in the description. If not, we'll see you guys on the next YouTube video. Take care.